your goals are too small. And I don't mean that as motivation. I mean it literally. The goals you're setting right now are energetically containing you. They're keeping you trapped in the exact financial reality you're trying to escape. Small goals don't just limit your results, they actively block quantum wealth expansion. Because here's what nobody tells you: your nervous system will only let you achieve goals it believes are possible. And if your goals are small, it's because you've made peace with limitation. Let me explain what I mean by goals that are too small. I'm talking about the realistic goals. The ones you can actually achieve. The 5-figure launch when you want 6 figures. The $10,000 month when you want $50,000. The modest growth when you want exponential expansion. You've been taught to set SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound. And that framework is exactly what's keeping you broke. Achievable and realistic are code words for what you've already proven you can do. They're based on your past, not your potential. They're designed to keep you comfortable, not to facilitate quantum leaps. When you set a goal that feels achievable, you're literally setting a goal that requires no energetic expansion. You're staying within your current identity, your current worthiness level, your current abundance scale. Quantum wealth expansion doesn't happen within the boundaries of what feels realistic to you right now. It happens when you set goals so big that you have to become a different person to achieve them. Goals that scare you. Goals that make you feel like an imposter just for saying them out loud. Goals that your logical mind immediately rejects as impossible. Here's the thing about small goals: they feel safe, but they're actually energetically expensive. Because when you set a small goal, you're constantly managing the gap between what you actually want and what you're allowing yourself to pursue. You want the $1 million business, but you're setting goals for $100,000. You want complete financial freedom, but you're setting goals to pay off one credit card. That gap creates internal conflict, and internal conflict drains your energy. You know what you really want. You've always known. But somewhere along the way, you learned to negotiate with your dreams. You learned to be realistic. You learned that wanting too much makes you greedy or delusional. So you shrunk your goals down to something acceptable, something you could admit to others without feeling embarrassed. Let's talk about the invisible limits of ambition and how they're formed. You didn't wake up one day and decide to think small. You were trained into it. By a society that values conformity over expansion. By an education system that punishes dreaming too big. By a culture that celebrates humble goals and mocks audacious ones. Every time someone told you to be realistic, they installed a limit. Every time someone said, "People like us don't do that," they drew a boundary around your ambition. Every time you watched someone dream big and fail, your nervous system logged it as evidence that big goals are dangerous. And now you have invisible ceilings on your ambition that you don't even recognize as artificial. These invisible limits show up as what you think is possible for you. When someone mentions a 7-figure launch and you immediately think, "That's not for people like me," that's an invisible limit. When you see someone with massive wealth and assume they got lucky or had advantages you don't have, that's an invisible limit. When you set a goal and immediately follow it with, "But I'd be happy with less," that's an invisible limit trying to protect you from disappointment. Your abundance scale is calibrated to these invisible limits. The abundance scale is the range of wealth and success your nervous system considers safe and acceptable for you. For some people, it tops out at $5,000 months. For others, $50,000. For very few, it's unlimited. And here's the critical part: you will unconsciously sabotage anything that exceeds your abundance scale, even if you consciously want it. This is why you can work incredibly hard and not see income growth. This is why you can do everything right and still plateau. This is why opportunities that could quantum leap your wealth somehow fall through. You're hitting your abundance scale ceiling. Your system is rejecting wealth expansion because it exceeds what feels safe to your current identity. The goals you're setting are reinforcing this ceiling, not breaking through it. When you set achievable goals that fit comfortably within your current abundance scale, you're essentially telling the universe, Keep me right here. This is all I can handle. And the universe listens. Quantum wealth expansion requires setting goals that shatter your abundance scale. Goals so big they force your identity to expand. Goals that make your current self uncomfortable because they require you to become someone new. Someone with a completely different relationship to money, success, and worthiness. Now let's get into what quantum goals actually look like and why they work. Quantum goals are not incremental. They're exponential. They're not based on what you did last year plus 10%. They're based on what becomes possible when you stop negotiating with limitation. A quantum goal feels unrealistic. It should. If it feels completely achievable with your current resources, strategies, and identity, it's not a quantum goal. It's just a regular goal. Quantum goals require you to leap, not climb. They require faith, not certainty. They require you to become someone different, not just do more of what you're already doing. Here's an example. If you made $50,000 last year, a regular goal is $60,000 this year. A quantum goal is $500,000. Your brain immediately rejects it. That's impossible. I'd have to 10x my business. I don't have the capacity. I don't have the audience. I don't have the offers. Good. That resistance is exactly the point. Because what you're really saying is, I'd have to become a completely different person with a completely different business model to achieve that. Yes. Exactly. That's quantum wealth expansion. Quantum goals force you to think differently. When you set a goal to make $500,000 and you made $50,000 last year, you can't just work harder. You have to completely reimagine your business. You have to create premium offers. You have to step into different visibility. You have to charge prices that scare you. You have to become someone who believes she's worth that level of income. The goal itself forces the identity shift. This is why small goals keep you stuck. They don't require identity transformation. You can hit a small goal while staying exactly who you are, doing exactly what you've been doing, just slightly more of it. There's no expansion, no breakthrough, no quantum leap. Quantum goals also activate different energy. When you set a goal that excites and terrifies you simultaneously, you tap into a frequency of possibility that small goals never access. You start noticing opportunities you were blind to before. You start attracting different people, different clients, different resources. The goal itself becomes a magnet for the exact things you need to achieve it. But here's what stops most people. The gap between where they are and the quantum goal feels insurmountable. They look at that $500,000 goal from their $50,000 reality, and they can't see the path. So they retreat to the small goal where the path is visible. This is the trap. You're not supposed to see the path from here. The path reveals itself as you commit to the goal and start moving toward it. Let's address the real reason you're keeping your goals small: safety. Your nervous system believes that small goals are safer than big ones. The logic goes like this. If you set a small goal and don't hit it, the failure is small. If you set a quantum goal and fail, the failure is massive and public and humiliating. So you protect yourself with small goals. But this logic is completely backwards. Small goals are actually riskier than quantum goals. Here's why. When you set small goals, you guarantee small results. You ensure that you'll stay in your current financial reality, maybe with slight improvements. You lock yourself into incremental growth that will take decades to create the life you actually want. That's not safety, that's a guaranteed slow death of your dreams. Quantum goals, on the other hand, create the possibility of quantum wealth expansion. Yes, you might fail. But even a failed attempt at a quantum goal takes you further than successfully hitting a small goal. Because the person you become in pursuit of a quantum goal is transformed. You can't pursue $500,000 with a $50,000 identity. You have to upgrade everything: your mindset, your offers, your visibility, your standards. Even if you only make $200,000, you 4x'd your income and completely transformed your business. The fear of public failure is really about ego protection. You're worried what people will think if you announce a big goal and don't hit it. But here's the truth. The people judging you for setting big goals are the same people who will judge you for any success you have. They're not your people. They're not your clients. Their opinions are irrelevant to your wealth expansion. Your ideal clients, the ones who will pay you premium prices, are attracted to big vision. They want to work with someone who thinks big, who's going for quantum leaps, who's not playing it safe. When you announce quantum goals, you signal to the market that you're a different caliber of entrepreneur. You attract different opportunities, different collaborations, different clients. Here's what I've observed working with hundreds of entrepreneurs. The ones who set quantum goals and miss them still end up further ahead than the ones who set small goals and hit them every time. Because quantum goal setters are practicing energetic expansion. They're training their nervous system to hold bigger visions. They're normalizing wealth that used to feel impossible. And eventually, they break through. The ones who set small goals stay contained. They hit their targets, feel good for a moment, then set another small goal. They're on a treadmill of incremental growth that never leads to the financial freedom they actually want. 5 years later, they're still setting small goals, still playing it safe, still nowhere near their actual dreams. So here's what changes everything. You need to recalibrate your abundance scale and set quantum goals that match your actual desires, not your current fears. This is about getting honest with yourself about what you really want. Not what you think you can have. Not what seems realistic. What you actually want. If you're going to spend energy on goals anyway, and you are, why not spend it on goals that could actually create quantum wealth expansion? Why not set goals so exciting that thinking about them gives you chills? Why not aim for the life you actually want instead of the consolation prize you think you can achieve? Here's your action step. Write down your current main goal. Now multiply it by 10. What comes up for you? That resistance, that voice saying, that's impossible, that's your abundance scale ceiling. That's the invisible limit you need to break through. Your quantum goal is on the other side of that resistance. Now here's the key. You don't need to know how you'll achieve the quantum goal. You just need to commit to it. Set the goal that scares you. The one that makes you feel like an imposter. The one you'd be embarrassed to tell certain people about. That's your quantum goal. When you commit to a quantum goal, several things happen simultaneously. First, your energy shifts immediately. You start operating from possibility instead of limitation. Second, your brain starts solving for the new goal. It stops figuring out how to make incremental improvements and starts looking for quantum leaps. Third, you become magnetic to different opportunities because you're vibrating at a different frequency. But you have to actually commit. You can't set a quantum goal and then immediately hedge with, but I'd be happy with less. You can't announce it and then whisper disclaimers about how it's just a stretch goal. You have to claim it fully. Speak it boldly. Take actions aligned with that level of success right now. This means charging prices aligned with your quantum goal, not your current reality. This means showing up with visibility aligned with someone who's already achieved that goal. This means making investments and decisions from the identity of the person who has that level of wealth. Small goals keep you energetically contained in your current reality. Quantum goals create energetic expansion that pulls your new reality toward you. Your wealth expansion is directly tied to your willingness to set goals that terrify you. The question isn't whether you can achieve the quantum goal. The question is, are you willing to become the person who can? Because that's what quantum goals do. They force you to grow into the next version of yourself. The version with no invisible limits. The version with an unlimited abundance scale. The version who knows that wealth expansion isn't about working harder at small goals. It's about quantum leaping into goals so big they transform everything. Your goals are too small. Fix that. Today.